I started out taking basic training at Camp Walters, Texas in the infantry. And then they organized the 2nd Cavalry Division, and I went to Fort Clark, Texas, and the field artillery, and the cadre of field artillery. And that was the 2nd Cavalry Division. I have, I have the one. That was our 1st Cavalry Division, just got this straight thing on. 2nd Cavalry has this. And they broke us up and shipped us overseas, and I went into quartermaster trucking, 3568 quartermaster trucking company. And I stayed in that until we come back home. The one funny thing that happened to us going over wasn't funny at the time. We were in a convoy, and the ship on the outside got hit and rammed our ship, which was in the next line. And we were supposed to be landing at Oran in North Africa, and they took us into Casablanca. The destroyer escort took us in. But that night, it was at night when it hit, one of the guys was sergeant under me, was in a top bunk. He jumped down and ran up the ladder, hollered, "Mama, mama, mama." And I had to make him go back down and to help his people up the ladder to get out of there. He didn't want to go. He's out of Louisville, Kentucky. He's probably still alive today because he was going to take care of himself. Anyway, we went into Casablanca, and then we had to ride in the old French 48 trucks train up through the mountains through Fez into Oran. And then we stayed there until, I can't remember, we were there about a year. And then we went into Italy, and I stayed in Italy until they shipped me home. And we had all kinds of adventures of hauling troops, hauling ammunition, and they still didn't trust us because a lot of times we have 5 or 6 trucks, 1 machine gun to protect that. And that's all. Because some of the guys had their rifles, didn't even have ammunition for them. And we had that happen all through the war. If any of our guys were on guard duty or anything, they carried rifles, maybe 1 bullet or none. But that was the way it was during those days for the black troops. And I think some of the guys that was in our outfit one time, we were over and we were, all the non-commissioned officers put in to be transferred out of the whole battalion. They come down and straighten things out then, because we had white officers and black troops. Very few black officers in those days. That was just the way it was. And when we were overseas, we didn't get into too much stuff where combat was getting firing on top. I can remember one time they sent a whole bunch of us up into northern Italy to bring back a bunch of troops. They'd been on the line for a long time. And you come down through the mountains, you had a lot of tunnels. And we get in those tunnels and turn the switch on and off of those big 6x trucks, and they'd backfire. Well, they scare those guys and they jump off the trucks. But we used to do that it was just, I don't know, till we had them where we wanted them. But outside of that, that's about I spent 2.5 years overseas. In fact, as I once told the guys, I told Don Vaughn one time, I said, I stayed in Italy so long, I just might as well took over citizenship papers over there and stayed there. And,
did you like Italy?
It's all right. Just a another town. Of course, I've never been. I always said I'd like to go back and see what it's like now. Naples, after you got away from the airport was up in Capodichino, and you got away from the seaport, and a beautiful town. But a lot of it was the larger town like Rome and Naples and places. They didn't tear it up that much. I can remember, what's the name of that town? They called it the city of 4-story basements because everything had been leveled and everybody was living down in the bottom. Asino, yeah, right out of, not too far from Naples. But we didn't get into combat or anything like that so much. We used to haul tanks. That was quite just a truck driver. But I guess I did my part of it. The rest of them couldn't have done it without us, I guess. That's about it for me.
Tell me the first time you saw, a full tank and knew you had to haul it. What was that like?
Wondering if we was ever going to get it on, because we had big flatbed trucks, and we had some enormous size. You see, they use them for semis now, but that's what we used to haul tanks up on the thing, and then drive them, and make sure you had them chained down, because we had one fellow had to come down out of the mountain of Italy, and he was he was trying to get his cab away from the tank, because the tank was rolling off of the trailer. It stopped in time to get it, but it almost went over.
Oh my!
Then we had to go pry his hands off of that steering wheel because he was scared to death. Outside of that, that's about it for me. I can remember walking with the guard duty with the empty rifle. That's scary. But we had that way. They didn't believe in letting us have.
Talk about that a little bit more, because that's hard for me to understand.
Well, you have to get yourself back to what the United States was like in those days. The guys come back from, even if they were heroes over there when they got back in the United States, you were just another second-class citizen back where you're supposed to be, according to what a lot of people think. It's a lot different now. Things have changed enough. I can remember coming back home and walking down the street with my uniform on. It didn't mean a thing when I got back here. The first thing I did, I owed a guy some money, one of the clothing stores. And I walked in there, and he didn't say, he just said, "When are you going to pay your bill?"
After you got back?
Yeah. He didn't say hello or anything. He just asked me when I walked in the door, he said, "When are you going to pay your bill?"
Oh,
we had to go through a lot of that. But
you said most of your officers were white?
all of them, all officers were white, except for chaplains and doctors. They'd let the blacks at that time. Yeah. There was one black guy, Mobley was his name. He was a veterinarian, but he was an officer in Cavalry Division. We were the last horse-drawn field artillery battalion before they sent us overseas. When they sent us overseas, we had to go into trucking outfit, which we didn't know anything about. Had to learn how to drive trucks all over again. But you did it. You did your duty. That was it.